Welcome to Canvas for Collaboration. This is Susan Smith-Nash, and I'm your author and guide. I've done a lot of things, but I think I can basically characterize myself as a person who likes to do instructional design, and I've been doing this with online courses since the late 1990s, and it's been in conjunction with all different kinds of online courses and programs. So basically, I've administered and designed and administered many different types of training and educational programs. Lately, I've been involved in innovation and technology, basically in the role of being an accelerator of progress and helping find funding for different new products and technologies as well as commercialization. And also, I guess, over the last 20 years, can't believe it's been that long, I've been working on virtual learning environments and have basically become an e-learning platform specialist. If you'd like to get in touch with me, please contact me at Beyond Utopia. So let's just go into the course and we'll do a little overview, webinars, and much, much more. In Section 2, we will focus on group projects, which are obviously collaborative. So we'll talk about how to set up and deploy group projects in Canvas, and also how Google Docs is integrated into Canvas. We'll talk about how to collaborate with text, audio, and video files in Canvas. In Section 3, we'll talk about how to get along while collaborating in a virtual environment such as Canvas. So we'll talk about specifically how to collaborate in Canvas so that each author can contribute individually. And we'll talk about how to avoid conflicts in editing, and then basically how to go in and edit, comment, and revise text documents, presentations, photos, audio files, and video. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? It is, and it's all good. Section 4, Canvas for Organizations. We'll talk about how to use Canvas for collaborative activities with organizations such as churches, not-for-profit organizations, and professional associations. So basically what we're doing is we're expanding the reach of Canvas so that we're not just focusing on universities or colleges or educational institutions, but we're reaching out. And then we'll keep in mind that if we're doing things for organizations that are not schools, we may have different activities and different focus areas so that instead of looking at courses, we may be using Canvas for event planning, event registration, strategic planning, and even more. So we'll be developing documents and materials to collaboratively run different activities and also to figure out how best to work toward a common goal and a common mission, which needs to be described quite well at first. Sometimes those are called learning objectives. Sometimes they just boil down right down to our corporate mission. Section 5, Collaboratively Building Outcome-Based Training for Corporations and Businesses. So we'll talk about how to use Canvas for collaborative activities with corporations, how to build outcome-based training. So in this case, we're really looking at using Canvas for corporate training and basically talent management. We'll also talk about developing event, project, and strategic planning documents and doing that collaboratively. We'll also show how to use Big Blue Button, which is built in to Canvas, which is fabulous, to create a webinar series. And finally, in Section 6, we will talk about compliance training. And we're not going to talk about compliance training because we want to really understand and focus on compliance. No, we're using it as an example of what you can use Canvas for that's usually required within an organization. So almost all organizations need to be compliant with rules and regulations, and they need to demonstrate that their employees have gone through the training. So instead of just gathering everybody up in a big room and or flying them to a central location, it's very, very convenient to use the virtual learning environment that is Canvas. And not only to deploy the training itself, but as we are going to talk about, using it for collaboratively developing the materials. So we'll start out with how to develop a library of documents used for compliance training. Then we'll talk about how to use Pages to create a wiki. And by Pages, I'm referring to functionality within Canvas. I'm not talking about the software program. How to use Big Blue Button webinars for compliance training. So we'll talk about how to actually do that collaboratively, where you have more than one subject matter expert doing the training. We'll talk about how to develop assessments using Quiz, and we'll go through building the question banks, and this is really very, very important if you have to document that your employees all went through training and that they all passed. They showed mastery of the topic. Also, we'll talk about and we'll demonstrate how to use Quiz for creating surveys for needs assessments, satisfaction surveys, and more. So the goal of this course is to give you the tools and knowledge you need to use Canvas for collaboration in university courses, in organizations, companies, and between individuals for a wide array of purposes. Using Canvas, you will be able to implement learning strategies that involve social learning, and you'll be able to more effectively set up and manage group projects and planning. Uses can range from developing multimedia projects, fundraising campaigns, regulatory compliance, wiki development, and even event planning. Successfully complete this course or complete some of the activities, it is good to have a familiarity with HTML. You need to have a Google account, and it's very important to be familiar with Google Apps, such as Google Docs. So I'd like to thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the course. This is Susan Smith Nash, and welcome to Canvas for Collaboration.